Good morning, I'm Frank Powers, and this is Lifestyle Tucson, the program where I speak to our neighbors, the people behind the scenes of our amazing organizations, small businesses, and nonprofits. Our friends are informing you how they serve our community, and they're here to give you updates on future projects. Let's make some new friends today. Let's make some new furry friends today because we're talking with Pawsitive Friendships. Pawsitive Friendships supports individuals with special needs by using the special bond of pets to help them reach their full potential. Their approach goes beyond companionship, focusing on personal development, building confidence, and opening up new opportunities through the unique connection between people and pets. Their programs involve trained pets and volunteers working together to help individuals with special needs. These teams operate in various settings using the natural, non-judgmental presence of animals like dogs and cats, but even animals like rabbits, pigs, birds, and horses to improve outcomes. There's a lot of programs we're going to get into. I don't got to name them all now because I'm sitting here with the most important person in the room, and it's not me. It's Tosha Tharp-Gaitanis, founder and CEO of Pawsitive Friendships. I just want to meet a pig. Welcome to Lifestyle Tucson.
Hi, Frank. Thank you for having me.
I'm super pumped. I was all over your website earlier. You were emailing me, getting some facts and figures so that we're ready to meet up. And I was just telling you, I was on page 5 of all the pets on your website, and your website is excellent. I implore everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, go check out. It's pawsitivefriendships.org.
Yes.
All right. Go check it out.
PAW.
Yeah. And that's the thing is go check it out. Go take a tour of their entire website for yourself because a picture's worth 1,000 words, and there are 12 pages of pets right on that website, and you can't stop clicking them. I saw that parrot I want to meet. Who's the parrot's name?
Oh, my goodness. His name is George.
George the parrot.
He is a big parrot.
I got a whole bunch of lists of my favorites and a bunch of information. Let's get to that. And let's also start things off by saying happy 10th anniversary.
Thank you so much.
I've given a little information about Pawsitive Friendships. Why don't you give us the real history of what your organization's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So our organization's been around for 10 years, but it started before that. So in 2012, my son was 4 years old, and he was diagnosed with, at that time, it was Asperger's or high-functioning autism. It's been changed a bazillion times, over the past 12 years. And he wasn't making progress in his occupational therapy. And so in order to help him make progress, I incorporated my French bulldog, Zoe. And Zoe was my little shadow. She was always right there with me, and my son did not want to comply. He was very verbal, but he couldn't say, I can't do this, it's difficult. It's easier to use that nonverbal communication of running away, hitting me, pulling my hair, all of that fun mom stuff. And so I said, hey, you know what? If Zoe does this with you, will you do it? And he said, sure. So I put him in the wheelbarrow walk, which he needed to do because at that time he's 4. Upper body strength of a 18-month-old, grasping strength of a 9-month-old. So upper body exercise and core was a big part of his routine. And so I put Zoe on one side of the room, sit, stay, had him come with me. And I'm like, hey, buddy, we're going to put this dog treat on your back. And if you can make it to Zoe, you can give it to her. And he's like, okay. That was the first thing where I'm like, okay, now he's agreeing to do this. So I get him in position, grab his legs. We start to walk. He wobbles. The treat falls off, and he says, put it back on. Put it back on. And I'm like, absolutely. Let's do this. Put it back on. He wobbles over to her, makes it to her, and gives it to her. And then he says, I want to do it again. And that's where I was like, okay, now how do I incorporate this little dog into everything that has to happen to help him be successful and help him start to make progress? And from there, I would hear the kids in his clinic struggling, and I'm like, man, they need a dog back there. Well, why can't they have a dog back there? Why can't they have a dog helping them do what I'm doing at home with him? Because now that I've incorporated her, compliance has completely changed, and we're making progress. He's wanting to do exercises. He's asking to do them. Why can't it help other people? So I started investigating, how do you start a nonprofit organization? How do you train these dogs? How do you get into the clinics? And it took a few months of knocking on doors to get into some of the facilities. But we finally did. We got into the facilities, and we had the same results. The kids were making the same progress. I had teachers and therapists telling me, I've made more progress with incorporating the dogs with my client than I have in the past 9 months. And it was just amazing. So we were seeing repeatedly the same progress, the same positive results
Yeah.
on everything. And I was like, we just have to keep this going and keep it growing. First year, we served 70 clients. So we were just with kids at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2020, we expanded to adults. So now we say individuals because it's adults and kids. And last year, we expanded down to Tucson.
Wow.
And so we've just continued to grow. We ended last year serving 1,650 individuals
That's
in
incredible.
Maricopa County and in Tucson.
That's incredible. First, let me just move my chair a little bit, stand up. That's a big ovation. And not
Thank
just
you.
for an amazing nonprofit, but for an amazing mom.
Thank you
That's
so
incredible.
much. Thank you.
Because I know and have dealt with a lot of this with my friends and their kids and watching them figure out, developmental and what they're going, how do they react to this? How do we get them not? How do we not get them not hit, not run away?
Yes.
All that stuff, what you were saying about the nonverbal communication. That is fascinating what you've done. And also the thing to point out, because I really like to just try to encourage everyone that listens to this show to just chase a goal and go after it. It's not like you grew up planning on starting a nonprofit,
absolutely
right?
not. No.
Like that's incredible. Like what you were able to do, and life is about adapting.
Yes.
Way to go. Because
Thank
what
you.
you've done, you did this for your son, but because you did this for your son, you did this for thousands of people in the area and now here in Tucson. That is the best thing I've heard in weeks. And I talk to a lot of great people every week. So holy geez. Again, thank you so much for
Thank you.
everything. And congratulations on all that success. Again, 10 years. It's a long time, but it goes fast, I bet, too.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. It's just a big blur.
Yeah. Go check out the website because your logo, I imagine, is Zoe and your son. Is that the French Bulldog?
So I had 2 French Bulldogs.
Okay.
So yes, the boy is my son.
Okay.
And the dog is Jock.
Okay.
So when Zoe was my little shadow, and at that time Jock was about 6 months old, so he
Okay.
wasn't very trained.
Sure.
But the interesting fact about the 2 of them is that it's his dog, even though he doesn't help do anything with it.
Right.
It's his dog. Let's be real. But they have the same birthday, 5 years apart.
Wow.
And so because it's always been, Jacques is his, then it was just kind of natural to have the 2 of them. They share the same birthday. It's their kind of their thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's fantastic. And again, even just the branding with just it being a French Bulldog, because I noticed that it was a French Bulldog in your logo, which again, I do design. You can tell it's called the power of the icon. You can recognize the silhouette. And that's a distinct dog. And also not the one you always see when it comes to any sort of pet organization. They
Yeah.
usually kind of use a basic dog, big long nose dog. So I really noticed that it stands out. So
thank
again,
you.
just
I've
such
had
good
Frenchies
design.
before Frenchies were cool.
Yeah, way to be. That's so funny. We were talking off air about the dog I want when I eventually get a dog. I want a dachshund. I want a tiny wiener dog. I want to name him Beans. So this
Oh, my
way,
goodness.
when people see me, they go, oh, look, there's Frank and Beans.
I love it.
Right? So good. Let's talk about a lot of these great things that you do when it comes to your programs. I skipped ahead in my intro because Pawsitive Friendships, I was just going on, but let me just read the list. You're there to improve communication, sensory processing, emotional regulation, social participation, and executive functioning, which I could use a little help with still to this day. What else? And tell me about some of these programs because you've got school-based, early childhood, and adult, like you've said.
Yeah.
Let's just break some of this down and talk about all these great things that you're offering.
Absolutely. Look, if we start with early childhood, when my son was diagnosed, it was 4 years old, and it took me quite a while to try to get into some programs. One of them, he was in priority preschool, which is special ed preschool, and they didn't have as many things to offer that they do now. And so as mom, looking back, I'm like, no, I want to get in and help these kids as early as possible. The earlier we can get it in there and help them, whether it's encouraging them to participate with their peers, whether it's encouraging verbal language, whether it's encouraging their fine motor skills, multi-step instructions. It all plays a role in helping them, setting them up from the early childhood phase and transitioning into that school-based. And then within the schools, we are primarily in private schools, and then when we're in public schools, we're in the self-contained classrooms, unless it's an inclusive classroom where they integrate the special education, so the IEPs and the 504s in with the gen ed.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go into there, And when we go into new facilities, we always do a tour and we ask the teachers and the principals, what are your students' goals? What do you, as school owner, principal, teacher, want your students to work on? And so they rattle off a list of, what's on our list. And then we customize our curriculum and our activities to help them meet those goals so that by the end of the school year, they can say, wow, this is the mark that our students were at. And now at the end of the school year, incorporating positive friendships with these adaptive activities and pets, our students have made, X amount of progress. And then for the adults, it is adults with developmental disabilities. And for the adults, a lot of times, they're adults or they're, early, young adults, and they just want to be on the computer or their phone, or they want to sleep. But when we come in there, we focus a lot on social interaction and getting them to participate with their peers and to relate with their peers, practice life skills, all with the pets and the adaptive activities.
It's amazing how just having like a little buddy there makes you confident and able to communicate, do things, go for a challenge. Because again, a pet does work like a friend. Yeah. It really does. And I'm that way. Like I tell my friends, like sometimes I have a tough time. It is some of that executive dysfunction. I have a hard time doing this or doing that. And I will just ask a buddy, it's like, hey, I'm just having a codependency moment. Like, can you just help me do this? Can we just put this computer chair together? Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm just not good at that stuff. And then it is just having a comforting buddy, so it doesn't feel like you're doing work. It just feels like you're hanging out.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. If it feels like you're doing work, or like if a teacher's saying, okay, everybody do XYZ activity, but if you bring a pet in and you're working on those same skills, but it's in a game that's supported with the pet, it's a completely different approach and you're going to get better results. And even if the kid's if the kid is fearful of dogs, our goal then, for me personally, it's like, ooh, challenge. Kind of like, how can we help that individual learn to trust us and accept us and build that confidence in them, and by the end of the school year, because we want everyone to be successful, genuinely want them to be successful. And how can we do that? And we never push the pets on them. It's all on their terms. If they're sitting at the back of the classroom, but then by mid-semester, now they're sitting next to their peers, and by the end of the school year, they're participating, fabulous. That's a success story.
Yes, it is. And I was going to ask you about some success stories later, but that's a big one. Like, that really just is. And again, it takes time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's time and trust.
Yes.
And if they learn to accept us and trust us, that the animals that we're bringing in they're not the neighbor's dog that might be barking at you. And maybe that's where they have a bad experience.
Yes.
But when they learn to trust us and that consistency with us, that's when we start seeing that progress.
I'll say the key thing that you said, I was going to mention it earlier, and I'm glad you brought it up, is the gamification of it.
Yes.
And that is what is changing a lot of society. People are realizing that if you can put leveling up into an activity, whether it's learning a skill with Duolingo, or learning how to do a workout routine, or even my Fitbit that keeps track of your steps. Oh, you've leveled up. You got a goal. You got an achievement. Mm-hmm. These things are going across the board, and it makes sense that it works in this situation as well. Tell me about the pets that we get to meet. Because they might be afraid of a dog, yes. But what about a pig? What about a parrot? What about some reptiles I saw there as well?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, the reptiles are not my favorite.
Not mine either.
But you know what? It's all about the kids.
Yes.
Because it doesn't even matter if the squishy, squeamy, scaly, that's, again, not my thing. I'll stick with farm animals and dogs. But you know what? We have some kids that are deathly afraid of dogs. Mm-hmm. But if you bring a snake in there, I, as an adult, am like, oh my gosh, they're not going to touch that snake. There is no way in the world. They won't touch a dog. Why would they touch a snake? No, they are more open to interacting with that snake or the bearded dragon or a horse than they would be a dog. Because if you think about it, most people have dogs. Mm-hmm. And if you generalize, most people have dogs. So when you get to see something that's different, so when I bring my pig into a classroom, the kids are like, how come she's not muddy? Well, she's a princess, so she's not muddy. But they automatically assume pig, mud, dirty.
Right.
And that's not what we bring in. Is we don't bring in animals that are at, they have to have a certain standard before they can work with us.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of breaking down those stereotypical barriers that they might have this preconceived notion. But also, like with the reptiles, a lot of people will say, well, how is a snake therapeutic? Well, it's not about being therapeutic. And you also have to think about the population that we serve. So if we're serving a population, a neurodiverse population that focuses on a lot of sensory, they impulse control, they need to, body regulation, but they want to interact with that snake. But we need them to have calm bodies, following directions. And for the snakes, they have to use the hand, and the tortoises and bearded dragons, hand sanitizer ahead of time. And then you have to use 2 fingers. We're not squeezing, we're not poking. It's 2 fingers, and you're gently petting that. And it has a different texture or a feel that the kids that we work with, they want that different sensory input. And so those snakes give them that. But from my perspective, they're seeing it as, cool, we're interacting with this snake. I'm seeing it as now they're following directions. They have calm bodies. The impulse control is there. And now we're making progress. So it gives them something to look forward to in order to have this. But then we also incorporate snake-themed activities, or maybe it's a puzzle that's in the shape of a snake, something along those lines that the snake has then motivated them to work towards.
Yeah, it's like horizontal integration, I believe. You're just like using that theme of the day, or using that animal for doing all these other activities. And then that's the focus, to interact, touch, meet a snake, meet an iguana. That's so fun. And reptiles are a very unique creature for exactly what you just said, because the thing is, a snake's not going to bark.
No.
And that's probably why a lot of people have driver's licenses too. Doesn't mean they know how to drive. So a lot of these dog owners, they don't control these dogs. Those dogs are out there and say, oh, don't go near. They'll bark at everybody. They bark at other dogs. Yeah. If you are taking a kid to an event and they have that I would see them being very afraid of dogs. That makes perfect sense.
And it could be the dog at home isn't very well behaved. And so that's what they're used to. We've had parents say, this school year, we had a little girl who was deathly afraid of the dog. She sat in the corner up until probably winter break. And then she finally, what the breakthrough was, is the dog had the same color hair as she did.
Wow.
That was the breakthrough, where she said, the dog has the same color hair as me. Now she wanted to touch the hair that was the same color as hers. And then the progress just went from there and went from there and went from there, to the point where mom has told us that now she's wanting to engage with the animals at home. Whereas before, she wanted nothing to do with them. They were just in her world. But now she's wanting to be an active part of the animals at home, part of their life.
That's really incredible. Again, another success story. Yeah. I don't even have to ask that question. It's just going to keep coming.
It's natural.
Right? It just keeps happening with this great organization. That's so great. Pawsitive Friendships. I love it. Check out pawsitivefriendships.org. I'm just saying it again. We're not wrapping up anytime soon. We got lots to talk about. So you don't have any annual events coming up anytime soon because it's summertime. But I know I've seen you out at a few fun events. I was at All Abilities Day.
Yes.
That's where we met. That was a great fun day for kids, getting a lot of fun activity out there, doing a lot of great stuff. Where might people see you at some of your annual events when it comes back to autumn time and then toward the winter?
We haven't set anything up in Tucson yet. Since we are primarily in Phoenix, we do have one event that we do a year in Phoenix, which is our Revved Up for Autism event. So it's a car show and a resource fair, and that's always the first Saturday in December. But I'm hoping as we grow down here that we'll be able to have an annual event in Tucson. But you'll be able to find us out at some of the pet-friendly expos, because we're always looking to raise awareness and let Tucson know, hey, we're here and we're looking for volunteers, and also to let the parents and the schools and all of the special need industry businesses know that, hey, we're here. If you're looking to partner with us, then reach out to us and let's explore partnerships. So awareness is a big thing. That's
the way to do it. And again, I don't want to be, I don't even mean like you throwing your own big event, which you probably will work toward, I'm sure, but for Tucson, but being a part of like, we just had All In for Autism Day is a big pinnacle event that you could definitely get involved with, I'm sure, and some of our other great organizations. Because like I say, in Tucson, there's something every weekend somewhere. So I'll try to give you some of these great organizations and tell them about you, so they'll invite you down and that you can just get more involved. Because I know Tucson is the type of place where this is phenomenal. This is such a pet-friendly city, and we love animals, and we do have to help out a lot of these kids that are in need. And there's a lot of great organizations that I've even interviewed here in town that do the therapeutic riding of Tucson. They do a lot of the stuff with the horses because they found how much horses are really good for kids. And you even have horses there. So what are some of the other unique animals that you have at Pawsitive Friendships? Because I made a list of some of my favorites when I was looking at all the dossiers.
Oh, my goodness. So, well, of course, for me, it has to be the pig. I'm partial to the pigs.
Me too.
And then we have, of course, the typical dogs, cats, mini horses. We don't have any mini donkeys, but we're able to take them on. Same with alpacas. We don't have any currently, but we are able to take them on.
I saw you had tiny horses. You had mini horses.
Yeah, they're mini horses. So all of our pets have to be mobile to go to the facility. So we don't have a facility where they come to. Right. And we do all of our own assessments. We do all of our insurance is all in-house. So there's 13 species. So dogs, cats, pigs, mini equine, birds, goats,
the tortoise
rabbits,
is leaving now, so he'll make it to the event on time.
Yeah, tortoises, exactly. Bearded dragons, ferrets, ball pythons only. Those are the only snakes.
Okay.
Guinea pigs we can do. I'm trying to think. I think that's
a lot.
It.
We'll
but
go
you
on
know
the
what?
website.
Speaking of the tortoises, when I was first approached about the tortoises, I was like, oh, they're going to be slow. And do they really want you to pet them? And then when I met the first one, I was like, holy cow. That thing moves a lot faster than I thought he would. And then they're actually really social. So when you put them down on the ground, everyone that we have that works with us, they are so curious and they want that human interaction that they like stand up on their little legs and then they just start trotting over to the participants, and they want them to like tickle them on their back where, their nerve endings are on their shell. So it's a great experience for everyone. And they surprised even me.
Yeah. You were asking me if I had pets before. And again, I have a goldfish, but I've always wanted to adopt a desert tortoise, like bad. A friend of mine has one too. It came with the house. They're like, if you're buying this house, you got to keep the tortoise. He's like, all right. And I do. I've always wanted like a tortoise. I think they're amazing and fun. There was a guy down the street from me. He would take his tortoise for a walk.
Oh my
gosh.
I'd
see them walking down the road, and then an hour later, he's pulling them back in a wagon because that tortoise doesn't want to walk home.
Oh yeah, of course not. Of course not. Some of ours have little dog strollers, and then they put the tortoise in the dog stroller, wheel them in for the kids.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was looking at the website. I saw parakeets, birds, snakes, all these fun things. A goat. You got a goat?
Yes,
right?
we have a goat. We have a goat.
I wanna interact. I think Dante, Cowboy, George, Paco, Penelope, and get us all together. Take a photo like Ace Ventura. I think that's the plan. But I saw, I think, page 12, Zeus. He's got one eye.
Zeus has one eye.
Yeah,
yes.
And he's adorable.
He had cancer.
Wow.
And he had his eye removed. He is a love.
Yeah.
He is so sweet, and he will just cuddle right up to you.
That's amazing.
But it's really special when we have animals with special needs, because then it relates. The kids are able to relate.
Yes.
So we had a dog down in Tucson. Unfortunately, she passed away a few weeks ago, but she was in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And there was a member at one of our facilities down in Tucson, and he was starting to kind of like pull back where he didn't necessarily want to participate. He just kind of was off to himself. And in rolls the dog in a wheelchair, and it caught his attention, and he's like, she's in a wheelchair just like me.
Wow.
And he wanted to now start asking questions. How long has she been in a wheelchair? How long did it take her to learn how to walk in a wheelchair? And now, because it's wheelchair, I can relate. Now it pulled him back in to participate with his peers.
That's incredible. People just want to be seen. Yeah. Isn't that what it is? That's so important. Let me just talk about the volunteering. It's one of my biggest things that I talk about on the show is trying to get people to, if you can't donate your money, donate your time. But also one of the things I was going to ask, and it is right there, other people's pets can actually be involved in your organization, correct?
So they would have to have their own pets.
Mm-hmm.
So all of our volunteers, they volunteer with their own pet.
Yes.
And so they go through an assessment process. We make sure they're going to be a good fit. And the big thing we look for is advocating.
Okay.
How well do the humans advocate for their pet? Because the pets don't have a voice.
Right.
So we need the handlers or human owners to really speak up and advocate for their pets. And of course, we want the pets, they need to be 1-year-old, up to date on their the pet vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
and basic obedience and well socialized.
Yeah, there's a whole list of the requirements, but yes, you can volunteer and your pet can volunteer with you.
Absolutely.
What a great day that is.
And you get your own little baseball cards.
Oh, real? There you go. That's right. Again, go to that website, go look at those baseball cards. Do you ever print those or are they just digital?
No, we print them.
You print them?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
We print them, and then so every time we go, when we leave, then whatever animal is there, then all of the participants get a baseball card of that animal for the day. And so they start to collect them. And they keep them in their desk, and they have them. I've had parents tell me, oh my gosh, my kid will not go to sleep until they do their little inventory every single night.
Wow. Isn't that something special? I love it. I've really enjoyed talking to you this whole time.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts just from you? A call to action just to anybody on how they can help your organization, or just something you'd like to say as far as things are concerned.
Volunteers. We're always need, especially in Tucson, since we're just starting up down here, we're always looking for volunteers. And even if you don't have a pet and you want to get involved, reach out to us. If you're a school looking to help improve your student outcomes, reach out to us, and we can help you achieve that and make it fun. Make it fun and safe for everyone.
Yeah, that's really important. And where can people discover more info about Pawsitive Friendships online and on social media?
So we are on all social media outlets. Well, not all. We're at Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then of
all
course
the ones you need.
Yeah. And then of course our website, Pawsitive, PAWSITIVE, friendships.org.
I hope everyone picked that up. We've been saying Pawsitive Friendships this whole time. I hope you've understood that, because today we made friends with Tosha Tharp-Gaitanis, founder and CEO of Pawsitive Friendships, redefining special needs therapy and driving innovation, compassion, and exceptional care. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for having me.
I love it. This was Lifestyle Tucson. Bing bong bing, time for a recap. What a great conversation about pets helping out kids in the community. I really enjoyed that. PawsitiveFriendships.org, P-A-W, right? PawsitiveFriendships.org is where you want to go and check things out. Check out their baseball cards. You got to collect them all. There's a reason to get out of the house and go to these events. Like those baseball cards that they do print out. Go check out all the fun animals on their website. Find out how you can volunteer, donate your time and your pet's time. That's right. Go follow all the procedures, and then you and your pet can go help some kids here in Tucson and maybe up there in Phoenix if you want to take a road trip to their big event that's going to be around December. So keep on looking over at PawsitiveFriendships.org. Maybe sign up for their newsletter so that you get all the details when they're doing all these fun things. So I want to thank our new friends at Pawsitive Friendships for joining me today. You've been listening to Lifestyle Tucson. If you're a nonprofit that would like to be on the show, email lifestyletucson@gmail.com. For more information about this program or to listen to something you may have missed, go to the Sunday Mornings page on klpx.com, kfma.com, mixfm.com, or espntucson.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and Audible, or wherever fine podcasts have PMA, which today stands for a positive mental attitude. Follow on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Lifestyle Tucson, because I'm your BFF, your best Frank forever, Frank Powers. Toot toot Tucson. I love you the most.